Hello community, I hope this video finds you well. For today's video, I'd like to talk about what is a healthy tissue? What is a healthy connective tissue, meaning muscle, tendons, ligaments, fascia? Up to this point, we have really thought of healthy tissue as either strong or weak or flexible or tight. And now the definition has changed, especially with somatic, right? With the introduction and this widespread information that's going on with the somatic movement and fascial, all the information that we're finding out on the fascial system. So, a healthy tissue is, instead of thinking of it as strong or weak or flexible or strong, you want to think about the connective tissue as being responsive, meaning that it responds, it turns on when we want it to turn on or need it to turn on to do a functional movement pattern, and it turns off when we don't need it. Chronic stress and tension patterns in the body will often lead to sensory motor amnesia, meaning that the muscle, we lose connection to it in our mind, the mind body connection. It's so tight that it can't even engage when we need it to engage or when we want it to engage. It feels dense, right? And that will lead to muscle weakness. This means that the muscle is not available to us when we need it to be. So the danger in that is that when you go to move, that muscle will not turn on, which means the body, being as smart as it is, will recruit from something else. And something else might be pulling on the bone structure. And this is how we get joint issues. So there are forgotten parts of ourselves, right? Sensory motor amnesia. It's like when we sit all day and the glutes fall asleep. Very common. Muscles turn on and turn off all the time. But something as a chronic tension pattern, the muscle turns off and then that's it. Unless we consciously turn it back on. This could happen from post-injury. This could happen post-surgery with the scar tissue around, where it's no longer available to us. So that's what the word responsive means. So that's a healthy tissue, one that turns on that when we want it to and turns off when we no longer need it. And again, I just want to make one more point, that when we have pelvic floor issues, pelvic diaphragm, I like to call it the pelvic diaphragm. This is because a lot of times there's so much chronic tension that we can't even then tone it to bring it to a higher level of functioning. So when there is so much stress and tension patterns in the connective tissue, it won't respond. So we therefore have to then relax it, get in touch with it, bring a sense of buoyancy and suppleness into it by engaging, disengaging, engaging, disengaging, and truly relaxing into the connective tissue until it learns how to let go. The other characteristic of a healthy muscle is resilient, right? There's a resiliency to it. So, of course, that follows responsiveness, right? Because if something turns on and turns off, it's going to be resilient. If something does not turn off or does not turn on, there's zero resiliency at all. So something where there's a chronic tension pattern and the muscle has turned off, eventually it will weaken to the point of then the body making a compensatory movement pattern. And this is when issues develop. We either pull a muscle because something's getting overused all the time. Usually the muscle that breaks down is the one that's getting overused all the time. Or it starts to pull on the joint. It pulls on the skeletal system. So the next time you're thinking about your body and how to bring yourself into better wellness, you want to think about healthy connective tissue, responsive and resilient. So strong and weak and flexible, tight, Those are not as descriptive as it could be. Right? So I hope this helps. Thanks.